work that I do, and I'm able to travel, and it's pretty much like really cool.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Just a few things I just want to just
Yeah.
um you mentioned that you took the like one. I love the fact that you're kind of using like your lifestyle as like the way that you want to kind of do what you want to do. So rather than going to like a restaurant and stuff like that, like you just I like podcasts, so I'm gonna just go to that market there. I know
Right.
students here are trying to start their own companies and stuff like that, but what was your I guess your competitive advantage in terms of that? Like rather than going to the restaurants, of course you wanted to go to the podcast space because that's what you do, but how do you remain competitive within that space?
I think the biggest way that I remained competitive was I wanted to cook more food that wasn't really getting attention, and I felt like European food, French food, as well as like modern Spanish food was getting a lot of attention. But I really wanted to focus on Hispanic food, Puerto Rican food, and also West African food because I feel like part of the African diaspora wasn't really being represented in the culinary world. So that's kind of like keep the competitive advantage where I don't make a lot of like pastas, I guess you could say. I make more like Caribbean food and I make a lot more like fine dining stuff, but I pretty much attach it to things that I know, things that I really love and respect. And that's pretty much how I keep the competitive advantage. And also never stopping learning. Like I continually learn each day, just anywhere I can get any tips, anywhere I can get any information. I'm just always learning.
Awesome, awesome. Another question I had for you is when it comes to starting your own company. I mean, for me, I took like a lot of risks. Like one betting
Yeah.
on me, as well as just going through like really thinking like what I'm going to do like it will work. There was like a lot of long nights and stuff like that. But for you, like what
Yeah.
that you had to take?
I think the biggest risk was leaving was leaving culinary school to start this journey and to jump into this space where I was one of one. I had no reference. There was nobody that I could talk to about what I wanted to do. And also going forward with like how to meet these people that I admire in these spaces. How do I meet them? Because New York's such a big city and I'm from upstate New York. So New York was always just like this like north star of like opportunities. So the biggest risk was definitely leaving culinary school and also moving to Brooklyn and reaching out to these people and figuring out how to sustain myself while I was in Brooklyn, figuring out how to make these connections, figuring out how to be a professional now that I'm my own brand and I don't have another company that I can that's an umbrella of me. So I'd say the biggest risk was leaving school and jumping into a space where I had to figure it out as I go. And I think those were probably like the scariest things. And also just being okay with being different in the space. I think being a chef is a lot of times very pretentious and it's really not that serious. I felt like being more relatable was more important than I guess feeling that there's a hierarchy of people that cook, and that
Mhm.
was really important was to remain relatable because like it's just food at the end of the day. Like it's really nothing too crazy.
Just food. You touched upon something that I just wanted to see like what's your I guess like your take on it, but um
Yeah.
being like a chef, like you have to be, I guess you have to build out like that clientele. So what are, I guess like some tips and tricks you have in terms of how you build out that clientele?
Okay. So the first thing I'd say is to build up a good portfolio of like food that you've taken pictures of and like try to invest in either a high quality camera or a high quality iPhone camera or any sort of smartphone camera. The second thing is to when you follow these people about who you want to work with, you have to know a bit about them. You have to be a fan, or you have to know information about them, and also you have to come from a place of providing value instead of like providing like just pay me. Like you have to understand that like the service that you're providing has to provide something for them. It has to either save them time, save them money, provide them with a good meal. It has to provide them with something because in New York, everybody's in a rush. No one has time. So if you can cut You can save people time, you can save people any sort of luxury, and they can just they'll pay for it. You know, like I'd say that's the biggest thing. And then also, um, when being in a professional space, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you have to understand that like you are your brand, and you just have to like be professional, and like people are gonna say things to you, people are gonna uh do things that I guess in your normal everyday life you'd react a certain way. But now that you're a brand, you have to react to it in a more democratic way, and almost like in a calmer way and more professional. So I think that's the biggest thing that I can say to pretty much to give people like a little bit of advice. I would say those two things. And also reach out to people that you like. Reach out to podcasts, reach out to whoever you like, and just, like whatever you do, offer your service for free one time. Offer, tell them that you'll shoot their photos, tell them you'll cook them a meal, like offer something to get your foot in the door, but also understand what your value is, because everybody likes free stuff. So you have to understand like this is for something. Like if you do this free thing or you do this discounted thing, you have to understand that you have to get a piece of the pie. Like you can't just give away your work for free. You have to get something out of it, whether it's recognition, a review, screen time, content, whatever it is, you have to get a part of the pie. And I think that's the biggest thing is like don't offer your stuff away for free.
Got you. Like everything has a price, basically. I guess going
Yeah, yeah, of course.
just taking it back to you at school. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've had my challenges, being, the beautiful black man that I am. just have
Right, of course.
like that. But I'm just curious to know in like the world of food, like what are I guess some I mean like some struggles that you face because of you
Yeah.
being.
I think the biggest struggle was feeling like I deserved to be there, because I went to the Culinary Institute, which is equally like one of the top culinary schools in the world. And there was very few people that looked like me. And I think that was the biggest struggle of like, I'm going into this field where I'm not as experienced, but I got into the school with a scholarship and all these different grants. But yet, while I'm here, I still feel like I don't deserve to be here. So that was the biggest thing, hurdle that I had to get over, because it's a very cutthroat school and a very competitive school. And I think while I was there, I think I was trying to be a caricature of what I thought a chef was instead of being who I genuinely was, which is like the average person, but also like I cook. You know what I'm saying? And I think I thought I had to be this crazy Gordon Ramsay, this crazy, like, no, like BS type of person. And it wasn't me, and it felt inauthentic. And I felt like that was the biggest struggle, as well as like there's a clear racism inside of the food space, because there's very little people that are like the head of a kitchen in very many restaurants. A lot of times when I went into these restaurants, the only person that looked like me was in the dish pit.
Mhm.
And for me, that was really confusing, because I felt like food is the thing that brings everybody together. And also, I feel like it's an equal playing field, because, especially now, a lot of these restaurants go to these different countries to pick up their street food, go to West Africa, go to India, and then they bring it back. But yet, the people from those countries can't even get into that kitchen, but yet they're
Mhm.
cooking that food. So I feel like that was the biggest thing that I had to that I really wanted to attack head on, as far as like that, like claiming a space inside of the food world.
Awesome. Cool. Well, bringing it back to like present day, um, COVID has kind of put like a hammer on anything food wise. Like you have a bunch of
Yeah.
restaurants that are closing, people that are like losing jobs and all that. So just wanted to hear like your take on how food is kind of transforming now that in like a post-COVID world, kind of.
Right. So with everything going on with as far as like the lockdown and like COVID-19, you have to transition whatever your business into either online business or a personalized business that requires like drop off. You have to have a business that's mobile
Mm.
because brick and mortar buildings, as you can see in New York, a restaurant every day is not able to pay the rent.
Mm.
And brick and mortar buildings, especially in New York, are very expensive. And the profit margins for restaurants is also really minimal. So a month or two without any profit or any work, it's over. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's that quickly. So, um, whatever you do, you have to make it, you have to build an online presence, and also you have to make it so people don't have to leave. Like either they come to your space or you go to them. That's the big
Mm.
thing because people are, the second that winter hits in New York City, how are people gonna eat? Because Uber Eats is gonna go through the roof, Lyft stock is gonna go through the roof, but these restaurants that can't do outdoor dining and can't do indoor dining and can't afford to have tiki torches and heaters everywhere, they're gonna die out. So it's like these sort of to go things, these sort of personalized experiences are really what they're gonna like take over. And also like niche market things such as cookies, brownies, there's people that do any sort of thing like just drinks, all those type of things are really going to take precedent over going out based on how the climate of the world is today.
Mm. Cool. I do kind of want to have you kind of talk your talk in terms of like how you yourself have transitioned to. I know before it was last night we spoke about how you kind of seen how the private chef thing was going, but then you moved into the drinks and the cookie space.
Right. So the thing about like what I do is I don't do catering. So already off the rip, there's a certain amount of business that like I don't get because I don't do catering. Primarily for me, I wanted to create like small intimate experiences. And that's pretty much what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to do more private dinners, more dinner parties, but also not everyone has the budget and the money to afford me for
Mm-hmm.
that. So I wanted to make something that was also more accessible, which is cookies. Everyone likes cookies. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to go into a space where I was having more fun because I think cooking for people it can be pretty stressful, but I think making cookies is very adolescent and very childlike, and it's very something that like allowed me to take a break from the craziness of having 5 different things going and just narrowing it down to like what I want to put in a cookie today, what type of cookie do I want to make, and yeah, and I had been thinking about it for a while, and I felt like I needed to do something else. Like the private chef thing is very cool, and but it's also a very small market of people that know about it and can afford it. So the cookie thing is more accessible and more affordable for everybody to still try something that I feel like is a part of me out in the food space.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, cool. So I just wanted to take some time. I know we don't have much time left, but I do want to see what questions we have in the chat. From Destine, they're asking, do you work locally or nationally? I'll have you answer that. Dr. Ken, do you hear me?
Uh, yeah. So primarily, a lot of my clients are in New York. But what I do is a national thing. Like I'm able to travel with it, and I'm able to do dinners in other places. So yeah, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Um, so yes, I would do both. So in the short, I do both, but primarily uh New York based.
If anybody want, if I mean, if anybody would like to share some ideas that they have or some questions they have, feel free to come off mute and or put it into the chat. We'll be happy to kind of give you some advice, just to kind of share, the like the lessons that we've had, the walls we hit, the wins we had, the losses. It won't allow me to unmute. So feel free to just write your question inside of the chat, or your business idea inside of the chat. Either or works. But yeah, but Chef, I mean, you've really been somebody that I feel like no matter whenever I check up on you, it's been like you're always kind of just doing better and better and better. And I think that's that goes to your like how you handle you as well as your own business. Like you really have a hold on how this world works in terms of like your space. So I do want to really give you your flowers for that.
Yeah, nah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I feel like just like everybody else, I feel like I suffer from like imposter syndrome. Like you don't really know where you are in the space. You don't really know whether what you're doing is worth it or what you're doing is meaningful to other people. So it's always nice to like hear stuff like that.
Awesome.
Hey, I tried to unmute earlier and couldn't, but I have now, and my questions are always long, so I'm glad that I was unmuted. Anyway, first of all, I want to say congratulations. So you should be really proud of yourself for everything you've achieved. And I understand, like, obviously, my children are mixed race, so I understood earlier when you were saying like the bias and the discrimination that goes on in the workplace, and you should realize that you should break those barriers and realize you do belong there, and that a new norm needs to be like broken out. And obviously we are trying to create this now, but I didn't really quite understand earlier. I think it was kind of because of the breakage of the connection and things like that. But so I understood that you were cooking for podcasts, or you were connecting with podcasts. Is that how it worked? So you weren't doing like private clientele. You were just doing like not catering, because I see you said that you weren't catering, but basically you were like the private chef for like podcasts that were going on around the city. That's how it worked.
So I did both. So for a few podcasts, I did like cater, like I did cook for like some podcasts like for their shows. And then but primarily I cooked for podcasts and athletes, like athletic trainers in New York. So I cooked for more of the hosts privately, and then I would be on the show from time to time.
Okay, cool. And you said obviously you're making your connections, so one person you would meet, and then obviously hopefully you're highly recommended by another. Is that how you made a lot of celebrity friends, or were there other routes you went?
Definitely. I went to like a lot of like podcasting, like networking events. One of them is at Gotham, a podcast studio. Every year they have like a podcasting event where you get to meet a bunch of young up and coming podcasters. And the weird thing about that I didn't know about New York is how we know each other, and that's really how it worked. I cooked for one person. I offered to cook for one person, and then they knew someone else, and then it kind of just like the domino effect of that type of
Domino
thing.
effect that you have like millions.
But also, when you're in a space where you do something really unique, people are always interested. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also just like, yeah, and also if you're relatable, just people just if you just talk about it, I guess don't lead with what you do, just talk to people and then they're gonna ask you.
Yeah. So obviously don't give it all up front because you want to leave the mystery and you want them obviously to engage in conversation.
Exactly. And also you don't want to seem like you're selling them something. Like
Yeah.
you want to just seem like a casual conversation. It's like, oh me, oh I cook or whatever I do, and then try to build a connection, whether it's like you go on their show, you go on their platform, you provide something for them. That way it's like a mutually beneficial thing.
Do you feel like you've also noticed like a big reaction when you tell people that you're a chef, considering you're a guy?
Yeah, I think ironically there's not that many women in this space that I meet, but also like I think because I'm not in a chef coat everywhere I go, it's a very random thing because not many people have met a chef. You know what I'm saying? People know people that cook, but as far as someone that does it like as their full-time
Professionally.
job, I feel
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's
Definitely.
awesome. You should be really proud. So thanks for taking your time to obviously, fill us in with all the I guess your personal
Yeah,
experience and how you got to where you are, because we're all at this
exactly, for sure.
point right now feeling like, what direction do we go? We all have our own businesses that we want to start. So it's always good to
Right.
hear, someone else's personal story. Well, I wish
Oh
you all
yeah,
the best in your future.
thank you.
We have one more question in the chat. Did at any part of your career you feel like you wasn't making enough customers or money, like in the beginning? And if so, did that discourage you? I'll have you tackle that first.
What? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. All the time. All the time. Like all the time. I think like so the first ever gig that I got, the person I was cooking for, they worked at a big time like tech company. And because I didn't know how to price stuff correctly, I think I was giving them meals for like $10 a meal. And I was traveling to the city, from upstate New York. And the first interaction that I had with like Andrew Schultz, I had to cook for him for about a month for free until he felt like, all right, it's time to pay you. And yeah, there was a lot of highs and lows. And I think I went through a lot of things. I think, ironically, to be honest, to be completely transparent, I think in January, business had been slow for a while. You know what I'm saying? And I was ready. I was ready to go back to restaurants because I was like, bro, like I can't sustain myself this way. Like people are not doing dinners. People are like, I feel like I'm just cooking for myself. I'm just posting all the stuff, and I was about to quit. I was about to quit. I was about to do something else. I was about to take time away, and then everything happened, and I felt like I just fell back into what I knew. I had to make money. And it's like now that, I wasn't really getting paid very much at these restaurants, but I was like, what am I going to do? And I think the biggest thing that I had to do was I had to understand like I was the only person I was going to get myself out of this situation. And I allowed myself to be sad, like things happen. Like sometimes you can't pay. Sometimes people don't want to pay you. Sometimes money's not really coming in. And I think it's just always thinking like, this is just like right now, and also having a good support system around you is really, really important. And I think, because I think sometimes when you're alone with your own thoughts, you're like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this space? Like, and then also you are envious of other people that are flourishing in the space while you're not. And I think just understanding like you're on your own like journey and that it's never going to be like a linear path and that it's always not going to be ups and downs, but it's going to be times where you're not even sure where you're going. And I think you just have to have this like blind faith that like also it's like if you don't do it, who's gonna do it,
Very true, very true. Shane, do you have time for one more question? One more follow-up question?
Mhm.
Sure. So
Yeah,
just
definitely.
touch upon something that you mentioned. Like how did you come up with like the pricing in terms of
Okay. So so the one thing you never do is don't price things super low and then pay more later. Like that's one thing you don't do. Like don't like the way I did it where I was trying to make it like super duper affordable, even though like I wasn't making any profit. It's like people are reluctant to pay more if they've already been paying at a bargain. So one thing that I did is like I remember I went to DC for like a talk with like a Kwame. And I asked him about like how did he come up with pricing? And really how you do it is you look at what other people are paying for food. Let's say the people that you admire. Let's say someone's charging $22 for a meal, but you feel like, all right, is the stuff that I'm making, is it worth $22? Who's gonna buy it? So pretty much the baseline for the meals that I make is around like $15. And also one thing you can do is you figure out your food cost and then you times it by 4. So try to keep your food costs under at least like 20 to 30%. And then you pretty much multiply that by 4, and that's pretty much how much you would charge for it. Because that way you're able to compensate for your work, supplies, groceries, time. And I think a lot of us don't really know how to price out our time. And I think that's the hardest part because your whole entire life you've been told how much your time is worth. And now that you have the opportunity to put your own worth on it, you're very much like, I don't know. And I'm telling you this, the day that you make like $100 in an hour, you'll be reluctant to go back to a job that's only going to pay you $12, $13 an hour. Because now you understand that like no matter what you do at these jobs, a lot of times you can work crazy hard in that hour and you'll never get paid more the next hour. So it's like when you do your own thing, you can really understand like you decide the price, and also your price is your price. Like if people can't afford it, the second that one person pays for it, it solidifies it. You know what I'm saying? The second that one person pays the high price or whatever price, it's done. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all the validation you needed is that one person paid for it, so somebody can afford it. And also figuring out your clientele and who your niche market is to, because also not everybody's going to be able to afford whatever you do, you know, and that's the biggest thing. And like, and being okay with people saying no and being okay with saying no to lowballing you. Even when you're struggling, like try to avoid doing things for little to no money because you're gonna get resentful about it when you start doing a bunch of work and you're not getting compensated for it. So whatever you do, look at what the pricing is for it, and then see where you're gonna fall, whether you're gonna be above it or a little bit below it, but don't go too low, you know. And also just do stuff for free in the beginning. Do stuff for your friends, do stuff for your family, just to build up practice, you know.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that for me, pricing was something that I had to kind of like figure out also. But I was very upfront with a lot of the people that I was working with. I'm like, what is your budget? Like, how much are you willing to pay? For me, that kind of worked because I was able to kind of see like some people were willing to pay less, some people were willing to pay more, and because of that info that I got, I was able to kind of find like that middle ground to see like, okay, I see my services is worth like this much. So I
don't
feel
you
like,
feel like don't you feel like when you ask that they'll come in lower? Like I feel like if you're bold and you give a number, like they're more likely to be like, oh, okay, I might stretch. But if you say, oh, how much can you afford? They'll be like, oh, I can afford $20.
I mean, that's where the research comes in, like finding out what other people are pricing for your exact service. Figuring out how much your time is worth. Like if for me, it was me like doing like the PowerPoints, the presentations, the worksheets and all that. So that all adds up and you're paying for my time. So if someone comes to you with that number, then you just know like I'm not worth $20.
Yeah.
You know? So thank you, but just know that my price is this much. Just not be afraid to set like your own price though.
Exactly, for sure. That's definitely true. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'd say exactly what Derek said. Like, yeah, ask people's budget, you know, because sometimes you can jump out there with a number that like is way lower than they were willing to pay. And now you're in this position where it's like they're not gonna pay more.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but if
so
you've
it's
already
just
done
like,
your market research, like I'm saying, like if you've already done
right.
market research, and so you have in mind, like, okay, this is similar service that I'm offering, and this is what
Mhm.
people are similarly paying. Sorry. And then if you come forward and say, okay, so what are you going to offer? I feel like they'll lowball you.
For sure. They probably will. Because it's like people, the things that people love more than free stuff is discounted stuff. You know? So it's
Yeah, but
like,
your time is valuable, so you should be paid for what you deserve.
yeah, but also I think a lot of times people don't know how much stuff like people's time is worth. Like, people just think like, let's say you're a photographer, they just think, oh, you're just taking pictures. They don't understand you have to take time to edit, you have to take time to pick out which type of photos, you have to take time 3 hours of your day to figure out what you're gonna do. As well as with cooking, people just think, oh, the food. But they're not thinking about the fact that they're paying you to cook it for them, the fact that you don't have to clean your kitchen, you don't have to do anything, and all you have to do is just sit down and eat. Like, all of that is a luxury and also something that they have to pay. And also just being okay with the fact that, like, everybody's gonna lowball you. People are gonna try to get you to do stuff for free. And I've been asked by like brands to do stuff for free. I've worked for people for free. And unless I got something out of it that I thought could down the line make me more money, I didn't do it. Because the second one thing that, like, one of the people I cooked for, it was like, either you work for free or you work for full price, but like, don't work for cheap. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's the biggest thing. Like, do not work for cheap, because people are gonna recommend you to the next person for the price that they paid for you. And now you're in a cycle of where everyone's paying. You can't charge people more because they're like, this person told me you only charge them $50. Why are you charging me 150? So it's just like, just keeping that in mind, and also just being really firm. And that's it. Yeah, and then just, and just not selling yourself short, because it's like you are your only advocate.
Yeah, just don't. You're gonna have those conversations with clients, and it's gonna be like very rough at first, but once you get through like a few of them, it'll be easy because you're not gonna take nobody paying you less than what you're actually charging. So once you go through it the first time, I'm telling you, it'll become very very easy. Chef,
That's great, guys. Yeah, I wanted to first off say thank you so much. If you have another few minutes, I know there's a couple more questions that popped in, but I also know your time is valuable. So either
No,
one
of
is
course.
fine as far as spending a little bit more time for
Yeah.
us. I wanted to first
It's
say
all
a
good,
big
yeah.
thank you. It's the only time you'll see my face during this whole time, as far as like on the video on YouTube, because this is all about you guys and what you're up to. But I did want to say a big thank you so much for coming and speaking to the BMCC students, and the YouTube live is there. We'll do an edited version of this coming out of the Zoom channel as well. So look out for that.
All right, cool. Thank you.
awesome. So we do have another question. Do you have more time?
Yeah.
This is from Paula. As a restaurant owner, what do you think it will be the future of the restaurant industry? I know we kind of spoke about this earlier about restaurants needing to be. I know in your POV, like restaurants need to be like more mobile. The fact that they kind of switch up, like being available online is going to be something that's big. Being mobile,
Exactly.
But is there anything else that you would like to add?
I would say, I wrote in the chat, so to go and like fast casual and niche restaurants are going to be the new way that I think things are going. Like, less people are going to be sitting down for 2 hours. Like, of course, brunch is always going to be a thing because that's like a specific experience. But it's going to be more things like that, where it's going to be people only serving specific things, like chicken and waffles, like creme brulee French toast, and also Places that pop up, like places that only sell cookies, places that only sell grilled cheeses,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Like especially because I think what I would recommend people to do, so one business that has really done really well. So like, if you ever been to like an insomnia cookie, like, do you ever see how small the space is? Like this space is so small. There's time for you to sit inside of it. There's nothing for that. You come, get your cookies, and that's it. And they have a delivery service, and also they're open late at night, and also they have an online store. So it's like a business model that where you can do that is ideal because you instead of people because you're not going to get the foot traffic that you normally get because everyone's inside, and the more throughout the years, more people are going to stay inside. So, and also because of Amazon, people can order anything. You can order your groceries, you can order your food, you can order a whole entire laptop and a TV and a desk to your door. So it's like there's less incentive for people to go out unless it's an experience. Like good food is great, but like if you can bring that food to other people, then you're automatically gonna start winning because rent is gonna go more expensive, and also you're able to cut your costs because you're able to hire less people, and also you're able to get more done because you don't have to worry about keeping the lights on at your restaurant. You don't have to worry about scheduling,
Mhm.
and also you don't have to do a bunch of work as far as figuring out what type of area you want to be in. You can really locally source to the city that you live in or nationally.
Awesome. Cool. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you again for joining us. Like I said, we talk more. So having you kind of share your story with the students here, I think one was very helpful. Students can also see
Yeah.
that, this journey isn't, going to the top isn't like the same for everybody. We all have our struggles,
Hmm.
our wins and losses. So can you just share your, where people can find you? I guess like your IG.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
of course. So pretty much, you can find me at Chef Prosper God, um, and the God is spelled with GAWD. And then you can also find me at Dem Cookies Bake Shop. It's a DM Cookies with a Z Bake Shop. And yeah, so I'll be there if you ever want to like thirst over some pictures of food or drop some ideas of cookies you want to see. I'm always down, and also more times than not, I'm not gonna be like posting food. I'm probably gonna be posting like memes and stuff. So yeah, like just reach out, and also if you have any other questions, I'm always down, and more than likely I'm probably like drinking wine and eating cookies. So like just reach out.
That's the life. That's the life. Yeah. So you can find me at What Now Works on Facebook, IG, Twitter, like any of the social media platforms. Um, just to kind of echo what was said earlier, if you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to help. Going through this journey, I feel like one, I wish I had somebody. I mean, I do have people that kind of show me like the ropes and stuff like that, but I get I get full of joy when I'm able to help somebody else. So I would give you the candid version, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at any time. My DMs are always open. Shane, thank you again for having us. I really appreciate you. I love the fact that when you thought about this, I was like one of the first people that you thought of. So kudos to you for making this happen.
Yes, thank you.